you know there's one secret that will always guide you to the right answer every single time? It's just this one thing that you need to know for the rest of your life, and that's it. Like, how easy is that? So, I'm going to tell you what this one thing is. But first, my name's Deb. I spell that with two B's. My channel is Awaken with Deb. It is what it is. Not super spiritual, but I do like to share my human experience. Just let you know that you are not alone in your human experiences. And there's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. So I'm here, I'm talking about it, I'm rambling. Join me for more if this is your vibe. You want to be here if it's not your vibe. If it's not your vibe, great. Move on because I'm not for everyone. And that's okay. So let's dive into what this one thing is. The one thing that is absolutely the main goal that will change your life. It's changed my life. It's changed anyone else's life that I have offered this advice to. And that is to choose the choice that has the least resistance. Go after whatever has the least resistance. Now, within that, you do have to be able to discern between truth and fear, because fear feels like resistance, but the truth can be scary. And for some, they're not in tune with their truth, or they've been so conditioned that their truth is wrong and bad and shameful, not allowed, not worthy enough. And so that turns our truth into fear. Who are you allowed to, like, who are you to be allowed to have what you want? You are not good enough to do this. You are not capable of that. Like, when you start to think of things that you want and then those emotions creep in, that self-doubt creeps in, naturally that's going to try and surround your truth with fear. And so there really is just like this thing of least resistance. What keeps popping up in your head? What feels easiest to do for you? Like, going to school for me has, it felt easy when I was in my younger years, and that was the thing to do. And then somewhere along the way, I was like, well, it's not the thing to do. uh, there was just a lot of resistance around it, and it wasn't working out. So I took a different path that felt least resistance. Now, the path of least resistance does not mean to choose the easy way out. It does not mean to be lazy. It does not mean to be apathetic. It means to choose what feels good inside your body, right? Like, a simple example would be, do I want to hike to the top of a cliff today, or do I want to lay on the beach by the river? And you would think that that would be like an easy choice. I mean, most people don't enjoy hiking. I enjoy hiking. I enjoy that that's how I get my exercise that keeps me healthy. I enjoy the different movements that walking on the trails has to offer with all the rocks, and your feet go like this. Like, we're so used to working on concrete all the time and wearing shoes that to get out and like move among nature is one of my favoriteest things to do. And then to get high up on the cliffs where you're overlooking things, like, that's just amazing. And so sometimes sitting on a beach next to water is not what feels good for me. But other times it's what, I mean, this is kind of like too easy of an example, but too hard. I had many different thoughts for videos today. I actually sat down, I had this amazing like inspiration coming through for the videos, and I sat down and I was like, well, let's try to be a little more productive and choose what our title is going to be before we start, so that we can have direction and not just have some random silly title like how it's been. And so I sat down, and for like the next 20 minutes after that, my brain went on a loop of like, yeah, okay, we could talk about this, could talk about that. But like, as I was reading my list of titles, like nothing was like sparking. So then I was like meditating for a moment, like, oh, what needs to come through? And then I just gave up and decided just to hit play. So here we are, hitting play. because hitting play felt easier than sitting in my thoughts and trying to come up with a plan. There was a moment where I really needed to change my housing situation. I couldn't afford where I was living, and I had already been searching for 2 years to either find another place to live or find a roommate, and neither of those were happening. So my ultimate choice was to start planning to move. And as far as finding other places to live, there was one option that came up. One option that was affordable. It was going to be with roommates. And mind you, I have a child. So it would have been me and my child in one room. Or maybe I could have gotten him his own room, but still we would have been in a household. And it was a party household. I could have saved a certain amount of money by moving into that household. Instead, I took out a loan to float me to the next step, whatever that unknown step was going to be. I could have saved the money, but instead I went into debt. There was no equilibrium. The equilibrium options had been exhausted. Nothing was working out. And so it was one or the other. And so that's where you have to weigh your options. Which one was least resistance? Like the money factor, I mean, that's a huge money factor, of which, looking back, like it greatly affected the trajectory of my life. And I really don't know where my life would have been if I had made the other choice. But, in that moment, even though it looked like maybe I wasn't making the smart financial decision by staying where I was and going into debt to provide a safe and wholesome environment for my child. But at the same time, like, money wasn't, to me, safety does not have a cost. And so there was the least resistance. I struggled with that decision for a while until I realized, like, the money wasn't a thing. And some people like to make smart financial decisions. I don't. And I guess that's kind of where choosing the option of least resistance, some might view it as bad. Some might be like, well, you chose an easy way out, or you chose this irresponsible decision. And so now you have the consequences. Like, that's your life. Those are your choices. But also, I feel like I am so in tune with my truth and the path that fills. Usually, if something has resistance, this is where you have to learn discernment. This is where the awareness of who you are comes into play, because there's going to be resistance as far as coming out of your comfort zone and growing. And there's going to be resistance as in your consciousness and your gut just screaming at you like, no, don't make that choice. Don't do that. Don't date that person. That person isn't it. That job isn't it. Like, is it? There was one job I lasted 3 days at. I have always judged people that have stayed at a job for 3 days. I'm like, you don't even know the job. You haven't even given it a chance. You haven't given the people a chance. You haven't given the routine a chance. You're new. You haven't given you a chance. So it's like, there was resistance. The job happened really easy. And so I was like, yes, okay, great. I need a job. This is wonderful. But then the moment I was there, each one of those 3 days going into that job each day was like, there was so much resistance. And it wasn't the resistance of like, it's easier to stay home and be lazy and not go to this job. It wasn't that. It was resistance of, this isn't for your soul. This isn't where you need to be. And you need to adjust. Like, we have an inner guidance system if we learn to listen to it. And that's where sitting in silence and being in a pause is really important. Yesterday I mentioned the pause, and which is how I'm in, a deep rest, not depressed, but in a deep rest. And I feel like our society has shamed a deep rest into meaning depression. And maybe that's where a lot of people aren't allowing themselves that deep rest and that pause, because we've been trained that if you're pausing, if you're stopping, if you're slowing down, that unless you have so much money saved up and all your to-do list caught up and everything is happy and perfect, you don't deserve to rest. And that's just not true. When you're cooking meat, it's not done until it has rested. You can pull it out of the oven, you can pull it off of the smoker, but the meat has to rest before it is considered done. A turkey has to rest before it is considered done. So as we're cooking up our personalities, as we're cooking up our careers, as we're cooking up our lives through our creative energies running through these chakras and these projectors out reflecting from the projector of the sun or whatever is happening, but like, I love that science is catching up to what we really are, by the way. My entire life, I have had a view of life that was completely different from what I was raised, what I was told, anything. Like, I've just known in my heart, in my soul, what this planet is, what I am, what we are, what energy is, what quantum, the quantum entanglement, like what this is. And I was shamed. I was criticized. I was meant to feel like the devil when I don't know if you've met me, but like, I'm so sweet. I am so sweet. Actually, I do have a lot of devil in me. When I'm mad or mean or feel like I have been wronged, I have so much fury in me. Injustice just drives me crazy. And I lost my train of thought from 1 minute ago. But like, I love that science is, I've always believed spirituality is just, science hasn't caught up to it yet. And science is catching up and it's becoming trendy. And the internet is helping wake people up. They talk about the Salem witch trials, and some say that like, oh, there was acid in their bread that happened from a chemical response and everyone was tripping. So there's that. But there's also like, women are intuitive and women just know things. And I haven't been wrong. Every time I have felt something, I have been right. And whether I know I'm right or, and sometimes people haven't admitted and outright said I'm right, but just their actions of non-communication on that aspect, I know I'm right. My dreams speak to me. My energy speaks to me because we are energy. And now I can finally share about this. Now I can finally be open about what I feel and who I am and how everything works. And it's been inside of me for so long that, I mean, obviously I didn't pursue anything on the educational level because I didn't know there was an educational level. As far as I knew, there was like lawyer, doctor, accountant. Like, I lived in a bubble. I did not know what kind of world is out there. I still don't know what kind. I know that I can create whatever kind of world is out there, and I know that new worlds out, or like worlds are out there that we don't know exist. Right? Like when I was a child, I didn't know base jumping existed. As an adult, I didn't know highlining existed. I didn't know highlining existed until the year I was on a highline and walking highlines. Like things can just pop up and exist in this existence. And it's all of your energy and your creation. And I love that I don't have to feel so crazy and I can share this information now. And like, I'm so excited to meet people and collaborate and like really expand the information and wisdom that is available to all of you so that you too can adjust what is happening in your life. You can adjust the story that you want. You are the main character. You are writing the script. The sooner you realize you are writing the script and you have an inner guidance that's going to help you choose the path of least resistance, your life is going to be filled with joy. Your life is going to be filled with surprises. Your life is going to be filled with heartfelt conversations that are going to fill up your cup. Choose the moment that feels the least resistance around it. But notice the difference between fear and truth of getting outside of your comfort zone. There's your comfort zone. There's the anxiety zone. And in between those two is something called a learning zone. So hop into the learning zone with me, because that's where the magic happens, where before the anxiety creeps in, before we completely lose control. Maybe be willing to lose a little bit of control. You don't have to lose all control. Just go a little bit out of your comfort zone to learn something new. But wherever you're at right now, if there's something that's gnawing at your soul of like, oh, I want to do this, but like, oh, there's so much around this and this and this. Like, if there is resistance around something that you want to do, like, that's kind of your sign. See, resistance, it's such a guide in itself. It blocks things that aren't meant for us, yet it can be used to help push us towards the things that are. Like making videos, I started way back in 2016, and I mean, it's there was resistance towards it. There was moving, there were laptop crashes, there were forgetting to hit the record button, there were just things that just kept popping up, and then like, oh, now you have this full-time work schedule. I don't know, just things kept putting it off. There was resistance with it. So I wasn't doing it because it wasn't where the flow felt nice. The flow pushed me towards writing. The flow pushed me towards creating videos through activity. The flow pushed me towards creating human art with my body and getting in touch with myself. The flow meant going out hiking every day to get content to post with the things that I was writing. The flow was meditating every morning, or grabbing a book and trusting that source was going to land me to the right page, so that I knew, like, that's how I decided what I was going to write a lot of the time. It was either through meditation or randomly grabbing a book off my bookshelf from my wonderful library, of which maybe I should share with you sometime. And so those were the flowy moments, right? The videos had resistance to them. And then now it's flopped. And all the skills and personal development that I have established since 2016 have allowed the videos to pop back up into my thing. Like the videos have always been they've always been in here, right? But like, I wrote really well, and I loved how I wrote, and I loved how it flowed when I wrote. Like, I didn't rewrite things. I would just write first draft, and there we go, it would be done. And I wanted to get to a point where I could speak the same way that I write. And when I first started, it was there was resistance around it, but that was the resistance where it just wasn't my comfort zone. And so it took more lessons. It took more understanding. It took more self-development for me to follow that resistance to where I knew it was flow, but it was the resistance of anxiety. It was the resistance of getting out of my comfort zone. So it's like I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and that's where you have to learn what your truth is. What is your own energy? What is the resistance keeping you from your vortex of joy? Because also, if you're thinking that that life that you want is out there and not in here, not for you, that's going to create the negative resistance that's not going to allow you to create it within your experience. So sit with yourself. Become aware of yourself and your own energy. Understand resistance. Choose the path of least resistance when it's following joy. And and you'll be fine. It'll be the right choice every time, even if you don't notice it's the right choice right away. But you're always right where you're meant to be. My name's Deb. I'm just sharing my human experience, letting you know you're not alone in yours. Click, comment, subscribe. Just click. Click anything. Click like, click subscribe, comment below. Let's change this world together, because I'm changing mine. So join me in changing yours. Cheers.